For thousands of years, humanity has stared at the silence of these mountains, feeling completely alone. We built empires and towers, desperate to bridge the gap between the dust and the divine. We convinced ourselves the Creator was hiding behind a veil of infinite stars, untouchable and far away. But the ancient texts, they whisper a terrifying and beautiful secret that history has forgotten. They claim the silence was broken, not once, not twice, but 3 specific times. This is the unknown history of the 3 times the Almighty crossed the void, God on earth. It begins before recorded history, in a place where heaven and earth were perfectly fused together. It continues in the scorching heat of a desert, inside a dusty tent where a traveler sat for a meal. And it culminates in a humble stone manger, where the infinite became an infant. Imagine a world where life didn't struggle to survive, but exploded in a perfect golden harmony. Genesis 3:8 uses a shocking word. It says, God walked here. He had footsteps we could hear. The Creator wasn't a distant concept. He was a tangible presence, brushing against his creation. There was no fear, no death, just the absolute, terrifying peace of dwelling with the divine. He didn't come to rule from a distant throne. He came down to walk beside us, as a friend. But perfection is fragile. Shadows began to lengthen across the paradise we were given. A lie was whispered in the dark, a trust was broken, and the connection was severed. Suddenly, the footsteps that once brought joy now brought the cold, heavy terror of judgment. Humanity ran. We hid in the bushes, terrified to face the holiness we once loved. The gate was slammed shut. A flaming sword was placed to ensure we could never return. The garden died. Thorns choked the flowers, and the long, painful silence of God began. We were left outside, shivering in the cold rain, convinced he would never come down again. Centuries turned into millennia. We forgot the sound of his voice. We forgot his face. A massive wall of sin stood between us. We thought the story was over. We thought he was gone. But God, he had a plan to break through the wall. He just needed a lunch invitation. Fast forward to the arid wasteland. No paradise here, just heat, dust, and survival. An old man named Abraham sits by his tent, trying to escape the brutal midday sun. He thinks he is alone. He thinks this is just another ordinary, scorching day in the desert. But then he looks up. 3 silhouettes shimmering in the heat haze. Men? Or something else? They didn't look like angels. No wings, no halos, just travelers, with dust on their sandals. Abraham runs to greet them. His spirit knows before his mind does, this is important. He washes their feet. Think about that. The God of the universe, allowing a man to wash him. He serves them veal and milk, a physical meal for a spiritual king. They ate. God sat at a human table, chewing bread, breaking the silence of centuries. Then the traveler speaks. And he doesn't speak like a man. He speaks as Yahweh. He promises the impossible. A son for a barren woman. Sarah laughs in disbelief behind the curtain. But nothing is too hard for the Lord. He came down personally to make a covenant, a promise that would outnumber the stars. He was planting the seed of our rescue. He proved he wasn't a ghost. He was real, tangible. He was right there. He left as quietly as he came, leaving footprints in the sand and a promise in the air. But a visit for lunch wasn't enough. He didn't just want to visit. He wanted to move in. The third descent changed everything. The architecture of history was about to be rewritten. The Apostle John wrote, "The Word became flesh." He didn't just visit, he tabernacled among us. The infinite God compressed his glory into a single cell. The mystery of the incarnation. He walked the dirty, crowded streets of Judea, not as a king, but as a carpenter. He was God with skin on, breathing our air, walking our roads, living our life. He felt hunger. He felt cold. He allowed himself to be weak, so he could understand us. He touched the untouchable. Where he walked, sickness fled, and death retreated in fear. Nature recognized him. The wind and waves obeyed the voice that created them. From the garden, to the tent, to the cross. The plan was always leading to this moment. He descended to the lowest point. Death on a cross. Separation, so we could be reconnected. But the grave couldn't hold the author of life. The stone was rolled away by light. He kept the scars, a permanent reminder of the time God bled for his creation. He went back up to the heavens, but this time he left the door open behind him. The third descent is finished, but the story isn't over yet. Look around you today. The world feels chaotic, loud, and godless again. But deep down, in our DNA, we are all still waiting for that sound in the garden. The texts say he came down 3 times, but they promise a 4th. Next time, he won't be a whisper or a traveler. He will be the king in his full glory. God has walked on earth before. The only question is, are you ready for his return? He is watching, he is waiting, and he is coming. Subscribe if you believe.